What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. We currently have a goal of 1,250 subscribers, and we are sitting at about 1,030, so if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We will be doing a 1,000 subscriber celebration giveaway very soon, so you're going to want to be subscribed to make sure you get entered into that. And also, you'll get notified whenever I upload new videos and or go live twice a week on the channel. As you can see, everybody, I have the Damtoys Claire Redfield sitting in front of me right here. This figure's been a big topic of discussion on the Facebook group and other forums, so I'm really excited to bring it to you today. Is this figure as bad as it looks in some of the photos, or is it not getting the respect that it deserves? We're going to dive deep down in and take a look at the figure and all of the accessories, but first, let's get a quick 360 of the packaging. Alright, and as always, guys, before I remove the figure as well as all of the accessories out of these clamshell trays, I just wanted to show you how it arrives in the box. I always say this is especially useful for those that are going back and watching older videos if they purchase something on the secondary market, because this shows you how everything is laid out in the box when you first get it. So of course, I want to make sure I show that to you all. But let's take all of the accessories, there's a lot of them, and the figure out of the box, and let's take a closer look at the details. Alright, everybody, as you can see, we have quite a bit of accessories that come with Claire Redfield here, but before we get into all of those, I wanted to show you this backdrop really quick that comes with her. Of course, I won't be using this, but this is very cool, especially if you have details. I'm sure this could fit in there pretty easily, and I think a lot of people would make use of that, but I have different displays now, so I won't be utilizing this. So let me stick that to the side, and we're just going to get right into it, guys. Starting from the right here, you could see this is the leg holster that holds the pistol. Leon Kennedy comes with something similar. I like that it has this moving retention piece here. I think that's really cool. And these are real buckles on here, and they are pretty substantial. I have no issues with that because this looks very similar to the one that came with Leon. So next, guys, we do have this belt here that goes around her. This looks like where she would store some important documents, kind of like a purse or a fanny pack, if you will. It doesn't specify if this is real leather in the listing on Sideshow. However, it does, I know this sounds weird, smell like real leather, and it feels like real leather. So I would imagine this is real leather, considering the jacket they came with her is real leather. So, but this is really finely detailed. You can see that little zipper here and here. Very, very cool. I doubt this works. I think it's just cosmetic, but nonetheless, this is awesome, and I can't wait to put this on the figure because I think it'll add a lot to her look, which is overall rather plain in my opinion. Let's set that aside. Next, guys, down here, you can see we have some more of the grenade launcher rounds. You can see the actual rounds laying out in the light box here, but on the right here you have your flame grenade canister, and on the left you have your toxin grenade canister, and these obviously are the canisters that house those M203 rounds. So I think that's pretty cool. These do have real fabric straps on them, which is a nice touch in my opinion. Next, guys, I think we're going to go for the bayonet knife. So, of course, you have the bayonet knife here. Very nicely painted, and the silver does look like real metal. I think they did a great job there. This is very similar, if not identical, to the one that came with Leon. And, of course, you have your pouch here for the bayonet. Let me see if I can do this on camera without messing up. There we go. So it does go in there. And then this attaches to the figure pretty simply, which I will do before the end of this video. Next, guys, you do have your knife. Of course, in the game, this is a single-use item. If you get grabbed by a zombie, this is kind of your last-ditch effort to stay alive. Gotta have these on hand in the game. They come in clutch always. I got a little fuzz there. But very nicely painted, and once again, it does look like real metal. I think they do a great job over at Damtoys with that. No complaints there. I think it looks pretty fantastic. And of course, these like faux brass pieces here look fantastic as well. Next, we're going to grab the walkie-talkie here. So there you go, there's your walkie-talkie. Very plain, but I think done well and nicely painted. You can see those little buttons are painted pretty perfectly. I really have no complaints about that. No sloppiness to the paint or anything. And this will clip onto the character. We will see that later in the video. Next, guys, we're going to grab the flashlight. So just a plain old flashlight. You do have some faux knurling there on the flashlight. There's some nice details. There's kind of a bit of a seam line down the side there. I'm not a huge fan of that, but not a huge complaint. Just wanted to point that out. There is a visible little bulb inside there with a piece of faux glass here, but this does not light up in any way. It's just kind of for the effect. Next, guys, we're going to move on to the grenade launcher rounds. As I mentioned earlier, you do have the grenade launcher canisters, which would hold these grenade launcher rounds. I did want to point out, you could see here on the far left one, there's a bit of messy paint there. Really not too many issues in terms of that with this figure thus far. However, I did notice that as I was taking these out of the box. I just wanted to point that out. I will show you too with one of the other flame rounds after I pick them up. These actually do load into the grenade launcher, which is very cool. So once I set these aside and pick up the flame rounds, we will show you those. I apologize. I did grab the flame rounds, but I kind of snagged the grenade launcher and I knocked everything out of place over here, so I just had to fix that. I'm goofy. But here are the flame rounds right here. And as I promised, let me take 2 of them and put them to the side. We're going to grab our grenade launcher here. So obviously this is a thumper style grenade launcher. Really, really cool. And the cool thing about it, once again, is you can break it here and you can take this flame round or one of your toxin rounds and load it into the chamber, and it even closes up with that in it. So that's very, very cool. And while we're at it, let's take a look. Very nice faux wood grain here on this grenade launcher, and I love that kind of stippling section here. It looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, Damtoys has a history with military figures, and it really shows when it comes to their firearms. I believe this does lift up. I don't want to force it, but I know it does go up. Maybe I'll do that off camera, but this is your kind of elevation adjustment here on the front of this grenade launcher. Alright guys, so I actually went off camera to mess around with this, and this is very clever. The insane attention to detail here from Damtoys. So you can see this little pin here. This keeps the windage adjustment locked in place. I'm glad I didn't force it and I went off camera and took a look at it. If you pull this pin out a little bit, you can then pull up the windage adjustment. And then you just push it back in place to kind of lock that in. Very, very clever engineering from Damtoys. And again, they are used to this because they've done many military figures in the past. I absolutely love this piece. And one more thing to point out, this does have this strap here hanging off of it, which is very neat. I love that they continue to include that on all of the firearms. And of course, you do have some dry brushing and such throughout the barrel of the grenade launcher here. Moving on, guys, we're going to grab this handgun here. And guys, I didn't go through and get all the names for all these handguns. I don't remember them by heart, unfortunately. But I think it would be easier just to kind of call them by what they are. This is a handgun. It looks absolutely fantastic. I love this wire here running. This is an actual like wire. It's not just painted on. That's really, really cool in my opinion, running to the flashlight. You do have an extended magazine because the magazine does remove. Of course, as always with Damtoys firearms, the slide does reciprocate, which is absolutely awesome. The hammer on this one does move as well. And then once again, the magazine does release. We'll drop this one out. Sorry, I'm struggling on camera. We'll drop this one out. And we'll take this extended magazine here. And boom. Now we're rolling with extended magazine here. This is really cool, guys. Again, the engineering on the Damtoys firearms are absolutely incredible. And the finish on this firearm is absolutely beautiful. I love that kind of gunmetal silver here. It looks absolutely awesome. Very nice work by Damtoys. Next, guys, we're going to grab this like revolver here. This Colt style revolver, and this one has quite a few moving parts. So of course, as always, the cylinder does rotate. The hammer goes back, but also, guys, this opens as well to reveal how many rounds you have in that chamber. Absolutely amazing. And that little painted in detail on the rounds is a really nice touch. This is fantastic. Once again, top tier work from Damtoys. Great paint work on the barrel of the gun. Really, really nicely done. And I love this inlay here on the handle. I mean, you really can't ask for much more from a 6-scale firearm, so I absolutely love this, guys. Alright, next, guys, we're going to grab this smaller revolver here. So the cool thing about this one, it has this really special looking hammer. It does actually move. If you pay attention closely, you could see it. It does have a rotating cylinder, and you can see the bullets are painted in there, which is really cool. It does drop out of the side. I don't want to force it out because I don't want to drop it on the floor, but it does drop out of the side. And this is really nicely painted as well. You can see it looks like real metal through and through. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And again, I love that you can see those rounds in there. That's very clever. And this one actually does come with a speed loader as well. And I love that they did kind of a bit of tarnished look on these bullets. Really amazing attention to detail, especially on this tiny little speed loader. You absolutely love to see it. This is fantastic. All right, next, we're gonna grab this little Mac 10, guys. Now the cool thing about this one, this piece of here feels to be real metal. This slide here is plastic, so be very careful, but I love the use of mixed media here. And then you have this little fabric strap here holding onto the front. And then the magazine does remove, of course, as always, revealing the rounds just like all the other ones. Sorry I did not show you that in detail on the other ones, but yes, there is an exposed round in each of the magazines, which is very cool. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic, guys. And again, absolutely great paintwork on this one as well. Moving on to the MP5, if I could reach it. Now this does appear to be the exact same MP5 that came with the Leon S. Kennedy figure that was previously released, which I did a review on many moons ago. But I will say about this one, after I filmed that review for Leon, I noticed this scope falls off a lot. On this one, it seems much more sturdier, so I think they fixed that. You can see here this does have the reciprocating stock and the removable magazine as well. Of course, revealing that little round in there. This is absolutely fantastic. Again, this is either very similar, if not identical, to the one that Leon comes with. I would have to compare, but it looks absolutely fantastic, and it does have a fabric strap on it as well. Very nicely done. All right, next, guys, we're going to grab the health spray. So identical to what came with Leon, I believe. It's just a health spray canister. Of course, you cannot get through the game without these. These are a lifesaver, but there is your recovery spray. Next, guys, we have a flashbang, which also did come with Leon. This is another recycled accessory, but very cool nonetheless. I love the little small detailed font there and the caution text. Next, we have our frag grenade. Again, very nicely done. This one, it looks to be the same thing that came with Leon, although from what I remember, it had a bit more weathering, but you could still see some weathering towards the bottom there. It does have a little metal loop on there, which I think is pretty cool, but not much else to it. That is just a frag grenade. Next, guys, the thing that made me so mad when I opened this figure up. This is all you get for extra hands. Guys, you know I'm always crying about the hands, and Damtoys did the same damn thing with the Leon S. Kennedy, and they continue with this figure. Come on, Damtoys, I need more hands than that. So you can see you kind of have a gripping hand there, and then this is kind of a gripping hand for, say, the frag grenade or anything else where you can extend that thumb onto it. This makes me upset, guys. These are pretty nicely painted. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it is good enough, I think. I don't think the paint job is bad at all, but it is not top tier in my opinion. Nonetheless, very upset with only 2 additional hands. Of course, there are 2 installed on the figure, so you have 4 hands total. Very unfortunate. Next, guys, I'm going to grab the keys here. Of course, these also did come with Leon Kennedy. I'll kind of try to get you guys a close-up of them. Sorry, they're kind of hard to grab. Of course, the keys are iconic to the Resident Evil games. So if you've ever played them, you very much are familiar with these. And I think they are nicely done. Once again, these are the same ones that came with Leon. Nothing to write home about, but these are the keys, and you do get them with Claire as well. Next, guys, we're moving on to the ammo boxes. One of my favorite accessories that come with these Damtoys Resident Evil figures. You can see we have our maximum standard handgun ammunition box. This is really cool, guys, and I always like to show on the end here the additional attention to detail. 9mm high velocity handgun ammunition, maximum standard. You can see the bullets right there. Very cool and very nicely done. Of course, next we have another box of ammunition here. Hornet Rush machine pistol ammunition. Same case with this one, guys. A lot of great detail. If we flip it to the side, you can see a lot of tiny little font here. Very difficult to see. The camera's having a hard time focusing on it. If you want to pause it and read all that, I bet you can read it because it's very clear. You could also see here we have 135 grain Hornet Rush on the side, and then it says 40, I'm assuming, indicating the amount of rounds that are in the box. Very cool and very nicely done indeed. And finally, our other box of ammunition here. The Cartwright 45 ACP handgun ammunition. You can see it says 50 cartridges, full metal jacket, 45 ACP on the side, and all the other text. And then this was in the Leon S. Kennedy box, and I remember because it has this little retail sticker on the side. I think that is so clever and so nicely done. And these are actually really highly detailed, and again on the bottom. If you want to pause this and try to read it, I'm sure that you could because the camera is actually picking it up. But this is absolutely fantastic, and I love to see stuff like this because this is what makes 6 scale collecting fun, in my opinion. And then finally, guys, the most boring part here, but we have to include it. We have this Claire Redfield stand. Very basic, all black stand. Again, same that came with Leon Kennedy, but his just said Leon Kennedy. And then it says Capcom Limited, all rights reserved. And of course you have your crotch grabber. But that's all for the accessories, guys. Let me adjust the camera a little bit and get these accessories out of the way, and we're going to pick up Claire Redfield and take a look at her and see what we think of that figure. Alright guys, now here we are with Claire Redfield. Really quick, I do want to take the head sculpt off the body so we can get a close-up look, because that is a big topic of discussion. Now, in my previous review for Leon Kennedy, I discovered that the head sculpt just kind of pulls off of the neck peg, and that is the same case with this one. I just wanted to point that out in case you got yours in and you're like, oh, is mine broken? No, it's not. That is actually by design. That's what Damtoys does. So let me set the body aside for a second. And we're going to take a look at this head sculpt, guys. So, I will be honest with you, it does look much better in person. However, on camera, I could see where people are having issues. Now, my biggest complaint is her eyes just look kind of dead, you know? They're just kind of beady eyes. They're very wide open. I feel like if they closed those eyelids a little bit more, it would have really helped out this look. I think they just did a little too much with those eyes, and they're a little too wide open. Now, are they nicely painted? Yes, very nicely painted, actually. But I feel like they should have just dialed it down a little bit and made the eyes a little bit more closed. That's just my opinion. Moving around though, I think the hair looks good. Is it like top tier sculpted hair? No, but I do have to remember that this is adapted from a video game, so this does look like the character in the video game, and this is not meant to look like a real person in real life. This is simply adapted from the Resident Evil 2 Remake game, so part of that does add to the look. Like I said, for me, my main issue is I think the eyes are a little bit too wide open. However, I do think it's nicely painted, and again, you have to consider this is based on a video game character, and it is meant to look like it came off of the screen when you were playing the video game. So I do have to remember that. I want to try to turn my light down here if I could reach up and turn it down, just to give you guys a little bit different view of her and some different lighting, because I know that plays a huge factor with this head sculpt, and you could see that's really what you can expect in different lighting with this sculpt. Definitely not a terrible sculpt whatsoever. I just think that they could have done a little bit better with this, but I am not totally disappointed. I will say in person, it definitely comes off a little bit better. My biggest complaint are just those eyes. Let me stick this sculpt back on the body real quick, and we'll take a look at the rest of the figure. You do have this beautiful little feather necklace here, kind of a signature for Claire Redfield. And you could see the other topic of discussion here is the leather jacket, guys. Now, originally, when this figure was first sent out, she did have a completely different pleather jacket. It was a pleather jacket instead of real leather like this one, and it was also a different shade of red. I would argue a more accurate shade of red than this one. So, I do have to take some points off for that because this is not the accurate color to the game. It's a bit brighter, but I do understand real leather, you can only get it in certain shades, so that's probably part of the reason why we're seeing this. Now, another thing with this, you can see the collar is quite big. I don't hate it. I really don't. I gotta be honest with you guys. I don't hate it. However, I do get some Count Dracula vibes here with this large collar here. I do understand where people are coming from. The pleather jacket definitely fit her body much better. And this one is kind of bigger in all the wrong places. However, in person, it does look a little bit better than I expected. You could see it's really not too bad in the waist area and in the arms. It's more so this collar area that's kind of forcing it up. I'm not a huge fan of that part, however, I can live with that personally. Turning it around though, you do have this beautiful etched in logo on the back, and I think this looks absolutely awesome. I have no complaints about that. I think that looks fantastic. I will say regarding this leather jacket, it is unfortunate that it doesn't look completely accurate to the game. However, me personally, I think I would rather trade that for longevity and peace of mind because this is real leather. Honestly, typically with pleather jackets like this, I do not pose the arms because I'm worried about cracking because I am in an area that does get some humidity sometimes. However, with this one, you could safely pose it without any issues. This does, by the way, have a working zipper. I'm not going to take the jacket off quite yet, but once we look at the rest of the body, I will pause for a moment and take the jacket off so we can see what she looks like without the jacket on. But let's continue down, guys, moving on to the jeans. Now, I will say the jeans are very nicely tailored. I think they fit her curves to her body very well. I think they're very nicely tailored. You can see the stitching running along the inseam here, as well as in the zipper area on the front and on the pockets. I think that is very nicely done, very clean stitching indeed. Also, as we're moving around, you can see her bracelet there. I think that looks really cool, and it's very nicely painted as well, considering how small it is. But again, moving around to the back, you could see that orange stitching is really nicely done throughout the jeans. I think that looks really cool. Now, I didn't mention it in the accessory portion because I forgot to, but these little rivets here on the side of the jeans, they do include extras. I noticed one of mine was kind of coming off when I opened it up. It was actually this one here. I took a little bit of fabric glue and stuck it down, and it's holding really strong, so definitely keep that in mind, but it is nice that it includes extras. Moving down to the boot area, guys. Now, these are a sculpted plastic. It would have been nice if they were split cut in some way, just to make them a little bit more posable, because I'm sure these don't pose very well. Got a little piece of string there. However, they do look really nicely sculpted, and of course, if we take a look at the tread, very plain tread on these, but that is really due to the design of the boots. But overall, guys, I think she looks good. Again, it's just the jacket being real leather. It does kind of throw off the look just a little bit for me. But give me 1 second. Let me pause for a second. Let me take this jacket off so we can take a look at the layers that she has underneath of the jacket. All right, guys, so here she is with the jacket off. And as you can see, you do kind of lose that good look there once you take the jacket off. This is definitely a contender for maybe a Fison body swap. Those non-seamless shoulders are just very unsightly, and of course you have visible joints here at the elbow as well. Definitely unsightly. I do want to point out, though, there is some like nice little kind of grungy, dirty look to this tank top she has on. I don't know if that's blood or just grime from getting dirty, but I thought that was nice. It is nice that they went through the effort of kind of adding some weathering and dirt detail on the skin. You could see it towards the wrist here. I first noticed it because she does have kind of part of her forearm exposed when she has the coat on. But I think that's cool that they went through the effort of that. Again, I want to back her up a little bit. You could see it certainly throws off the look. And I saw some people mention they thought the neck was long. When you have it with this look, it definitely makes the neck look pretty long, in my opinion. Not terrible, though. I'm not going to sit here and say that the neck's way too long, but I will say it is noticeably longer when you don't have the jacket on. So for me, I'm definitely going to be rocking the jacket on look, but I did want to show it to you guys in case some of you prefer this look. Now, I will say, maybe when you have the arms up and you're kind of having her with a gun in her hand or something, you can see it does kind of hide that joint a little bit. And I could understand if you put her in a decent pose, you may be able to hide that. But with the arms down like that, obviously that is the worst look in my opinion. But guys, while we're here, let's get into the articulation segment of this video. Of course, I will pose her without the jacket on, and then I will grab the jacket and put it back on, and we'll take a look at how she poses with the jacket on. First, let's take a look at the head articulation, left and right. Not really impeded at all by this ponytail, which is good to see. You can kind of pose her whatever which way you want. Forward and backward, honestly, not really much there. Very limited in terms of the articulation, but you can get some. At the shoulder, we do get a full 90. You can actually almost go beyond 90. Of course, it'll be the same for both sides. Now, a lot of people were asking, are these single jointed arms? Yes, they are, guys. You can see single jointed on both sides. Of course, double jointed arms should be a standard at this point, so I'm not a huge fan of that. From what I understand, the reason companies do these single jointed arms is if they think people will display with the skin exposed. When they do those double jointed arms, obviously it has that extra mechanism on the inside and it kind of looks even more unsightly. So I do understand why they do the single jointed arms. It just really sucks that we still have those in 2023. And also I wanted to mention that these are ratcheted arms, which is definitely good. Again, it's just a shame they're single jointed, but sometimes we get those joints from hottoys that are single jointed and they're super tight to pose. These are not the case. I did want to point that out. They do pose very nicely. In terms of ab crunch, I think you can get more than you would really want. Personally, of course, she does rock back as well. So I think there's plenty of articulation there in the waist. In terms of the legs, I think these will be very limited because of the jeans. I'm definitely not going to push this, guys. The jeans get really tight, so definitely going to be some limited articulation because these jeans are kind of skin tight on her. I will say the ratcheted joints kind of stop on those elbow joints. You do not have ratcheted joints in the shoulders or in the knee joints, but again, these do pose to 90, so that's good to see. Of course, that'll be the same for the other side. Now, of course, moving on to our articulation for the foot, as I suspected, really nothing. You can see I'm rocking this, but it's not holding place. You really just have side to side on this one. Definitely unfortunate they didn't do some sort of split cut design, but I'm not hugely upset with that. But let me put the leather jacket back on, guys, and we're going to take a look again at that torso and arm articulation with the leather jacket on. I will be right back. Alright guys, you can see I got the jacket back on. I will say when you put it on, it does take a little bit of futzing, if you will, to kind of get it where you need it to be. But real quick, once again, I want to show you the articulation with this. So let's do the shoulders. Not very limited, to be honest with you. This leather is very supple, so when you pose it, it really does move with the body, which I do like. And of course, next we will check the elbow joints, guys. So let's bend them to a full 90, and you can see absolutely no issues. And again, the nice thing about this jacket, it definitely has its flaws, like the collar. One, it makes her neck look much more reasonably length, and it also allows you to pose with it. And I do want to commend Damtoys. I'm going to get a little bit of a close-up here on the zipper. This zipper on this jacket is very substantial, and I would say out of all of the 6-scale jackets I have, this is definitely one of the better ones, if not the best one. It's very substantial. It's very easy to zip up. You just kind of have to line up that bottom section there like any zipper, and it goes on really easily. So I do want to commend Damtoys on that. But guys, now we are going to move on to the posing segment of this video. Of course, I'm going to have to grab Leon Kennedy to go with Claire Redfield in the posing segment. So let me go grab Leon, let me throw these guys in some poses, and then we'll end out this video. Everybody, let's close out my review on the Damtoys Claire Redfield from the Resident Evil 2 Remake. And guys, to answer our question I posed at the beginning, is this figure a complete fail? I'm happy to say I don't think it is. A couple things to point out that I did mention in the video. It is unfortunate the jacket is a little bit puffy. Of course, they did make the material real leather, so there are pros and cons to that. The look is a bit thrown off. The color is a little bit different than it is in the video game. However, it should stand the test of time, being that it is real leather. So that is definitely a plus for me. It's just unfortunate that it's a bit puffy, especially in the neck area, so I do have to take off some points for that. Also, as I mentioned, the sculpt definitely is a bit dead in the eyes. I think the eyes are just a little too much open. If they close the eyes just a little bit, I think it would have made the world of difference. I don't think it's a bad sculpt. I think it's nicely painted, especially the eyes. I think those are done very well. It's just I wish they would have done something slightly different with those eyes, and it would have helped the sculpt quite a bit. Also, I mentioned in the video, guys, the amount of hands. We got a pathetic amount of hands with this figure, guys. 4 hands total, and all those different guns and accessories. You mean to tell me you gave me 4 hands to hold all of those different accessories? I don't like that. I'm not a huge fan of that, so that's very disappointing. And it was also the same case with Leon, who I showed towards the end of this video. He did not come with a lot of hands either, and he also came with an absolute plethora of accessories, so I'm going to have to take points off for that as well. And finally, guys, I'm not a huge fan of how she looks with the jacket off. I think she looks very toyish, as I mentioned in the video. Her neck kind of gets much longer without that popped collar kind of masking the length of it. I just think overall, if you're buying her for that look, you should probably have the intentions of doing the body swap, or maybe you're just not bothered by the visible joints, and I totally respect that because it is your figure at the end of the day, so you could do whatever you want with it. I just think she could definitely do with a nice Fison body swap, and I think that would take that figure up a notch when she's not wearing the jacket. Me personally, I am happy that we got that real leather because I'm always going to have her pose with the jacket, so that definitely makes sense for me personally. Apart from that, guys, I think this figure is absolutely fantastic. Always have to give credit to Damtoys when it comes to the accessories, even down to the little minute details and that tiny little text on those ammo boxes is absolutely impressive. The firearms, as I mentioned, they have a history of doing military figures, so I'm not surprised that the firearms have all those little moving parts and they're very nicely painted and detailed. Absolutely incredible job from Damtoys on that. Also, guys, as I mentioned, the tailoring is very nice on this figure. I think apart from the issues with the jacket, the shirts are fit well, the jeans are nice and tight on the body to where they kind of run with the curvature of the body. I think it looks fantastic overall. Another thing I would like to mention, guys, this little waist belt that she has, be very careful. I noticed those belt buckles. One of mine, as I was adjusting it to make the length a little bit bigger to get around her waist, it did start to crack a little bit. Thankfully, it didn't fully break. I was able to put a tiny little bit of glue in it. It looks like it never even happened. But just keep that in mind, guys. Some of these parts are so thin and plasticky, they do get very brittle, especially when you have to use them as an adjustment point like the buckles. So be very careful. I wanted to offer you guys that disclaimer because I did run into that as I was preparing the figure for the posing segment of the video. But I don't think this is an absolute miss in my opinion, guys. Yes, she is pretty expensive. This figure is about $300 in the US, and that doesn't include taxes and shipping. So I understand if people are kind of hesitant at picking her up, especially with the photos that came out with the final product release, and everybody was like, oh wow, her neck is long, the jacket's huge. I think in person this figure is much more enjoyable, so definitely keep that in mind. I hope I portrayed that well in this video. I tried to do decent lighting to where it didn't completely throw off the head sculpt and the overall look of the figure. So hopefully this helps you guys make that decision in purchasing this figure, because I know this video definitely would have helped me. But I found a deal on this on the secondary market and I really just couldn't pass it up. So I jumped on it, and I'm glad that I did, because she's going to look awesome with Leon in my display, and I can't wait for the final figure in the Resident Evil 2 line from Damtoys, which is Ada Wong, and she is currently up for pre-order on all major retailers' websites. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I have a lot more videos coming, so definitely stay tuned. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you next time.